Los Angeles, California. The Lantern Bar on Western Avenue in Koreatown. Late evening, November 1971. The building is a converted storefront. Narrow, deep, dark, even during daylight. The kind of establishment that caters to working-class locals who need a drink after their shift ends and don't care about atmosphere or ambiance. The sign outside is neon, half the letters burned out, reading "The Lan Ren" in flickering red light that barely penetrates the smog-heavy Los Angeles night air. Inside, the bar smells like every working-class drinking establishment in America. Cigarette smoke layered over decades of spilled beer. Cheap whiskey evaporating from wood that hasn't been refinished since the 1950s. The sour-sweet combination of alcohol and human sweat that no amount of cleaning can eliminate once it soaks into walls and floors. The lighting is dim, a few hanging bulbs over the bar itself, some weak fixtures scattered along the walls, creating more shadows than illumination. The jukebox in the corner plays Creedence Clearwater Revival at volume just loud enough to make conversation require raised voices. The clientele matches the atmosphere. This isn't where UCLA students come to drink, where Hollywood types network, where upwardly mobile professionals socialize. This is where construction workers, mechanics, warehouse employees, delivery drivers stop for a few beers before heading home to apartments they can barely afford. The average age is probably 40. The average income is probably struggling. The general mood is that particular combination of exhaustion and aggression that comes from working jobs that break your body while paying barely enough to survive. At the bar, sitting on a worn stool, nursing a single beer he's been drinking slowly for the past 20 minutes, is Bruce Lee. He's not here because he wants to be. He doesn't drink much, doesn't enjoy bar culture, would rather be home with Linda and the kids. But he's here because his car broke down 3 blocks away. The mechanic can't look at it until tomorrow morning. And while waiting for Dan Inosanto to pick him up, Bruce walked into the nearest establishment that had lights on and a phone he could use. He's wearing simple clothes, dark slacks, a button-down shirt, a light jacket against the November evening chill. His hair is neat but not styled. Nothing about him screams martial artist or actor to the 20 or so people scattered throughout the bar. He's just another customer, small Asian guy drinking alone, probably finishing work at one of the Korean restaurants or shops that have been opening in this neighborhood. Nobody important, nobody interesting. The bartender is a tired-looking white man in his 50s who poured Bruce's beer without conversation, took his money, left him alone. That's the social contract in places like this. You pay, you drink, you don't cause trouble, nobody bothers you. Bruce respects that arrangement, sits quietly, checks his watch periodically, waits for Dan's call at the payphone to confirm pickup time. But 3 men at a corner table have noticed him. They're construction workers, based on the clothes, work boots caked with dried concrete, jeans worn thin at the knees, flannel shirts with company logos on the breast. The biggest one is maybe 6'1", 230 pounds, white, in his early 30s, his face already showing the weathering that outdoor manual labor creates. His name is Ray, though Bruce doesn't know that yet, and Ray has been drinking since his shift ended at 5 p.m. It's now almost 11. 6 hours of steady beer consumption have left him in that dangerous state where aggression feels justified and consequences feel distant. His 2 companions are slightly smaller, but similarly built. One white, one Latino, both in their 20s, both drinking at the same pace Ray has been drinking. They're following his lead, laughing at his comments, encouraging his energy because that's the social dynamic that working-class drinking groups often develop. Ray is the alpha, the biggest and loudest, and the other 2 orbit his energy like moons around a planet. Ray makes a comment about Bruce, pitched loud enough to carry across the bar. Look at this little guy. Probably works at some chink restaurant washing dishes, thinks he can drink in an American bar. The racial slur is casual, thoughtless, the kind of language that was unfortunately common in 1971, that men like Ray used without considering it remarkable or worth restraining. His companions laugh, one of them adding, "Probably can't even speak English just sitting there." Bruce hears it, chooses to ignore it. He's dealt with casual racism his entire life. In Hong Kong as a mixed-race kid, in America as an Asian immigrant, in Hollywood as an actor trying to get roles in an industry that sees Asians as servants or villains. Random drunk guys in bars using slurs doesn't merit response. He takes another small sip of beer, checks his watch again, waits for the phone to ring. But Ray is in that mood where silence feels like weakness, where not getting a reaction demands escalation. He stands up, his movements showing the particular careful balance drunk people maintain when they're trying to appear sober, and walks toward Bruce with his 2 companions following. They position themselves around Bruce, Ray directly beside him, one companion on his other side, one behind. It's the classic intimidation formation, using numbers and positioning to make someone feel surrounded, threatened, small. Bruce recognizes it immediately, his body language remaining relaxed, but his awareness shifting to tactical mode, processing angles and distances and threat levels automatically. Hey, I'm talking to you, Ray says, his breath carrying the sour beer smell that 6 hours of drinking creates. You speak English? You understand what I'm saying? Bruce turns to look at him, his expression neutral, his voice calm. I understand you're fine, and I'm not looking for trouble. Just waiting for a ride, then I'll be gone. Oh, he does speak English, Ray announces to his friends, his tone mocking. Pretty good English, too. Must be one of those educated types. Thinks he's better than working men. The bartender has noticed the confrontation, his face showing the resignation of someone who's broken up too many bar fights to get excited about another one developing. He calls out, Ray, leave the guy alone. He's not bothering anyone. Mind your own business, Pete, Ray responds without looking away from Bruce. Me and my friends are just having a conversation with our new Asian friend here. Isn't that right? We're just being friendly. The thing about drunk aggression is that it escalates through its own momentum. Ray didn't come over here planning to actually fight Bruce. He came over to intimidate, to assert dominance, to feel powerful by making someone smaller feel weak. But when intimidation doesn't work, when the target doesn't show the fear or deference the aggressor expects, escalation becomes necessary to avoid losing face in front of the companions who are watching, judging, measuring their leader's strength through his ability to dominate. Bruce's calm, his lack of visible fear, his polite but firm response, all of it creates cognitive dissonance for Ray. Small Asian guy should be intimidated by 3 large men surrounding him. Should be apologizing, backing down, leaving the bar. Instead, he's just sitting there, composed, almost bored? That can't stand. Ray puts his hand on Bruce's shoulder, not gently, not friendly, but with the pressure that communicates ownership, dominance, the physical assertion that Ray can touch Bruce whenever he wants because size gives him that right. I think you should leave, Ray says, his voice hardening. I don't like your attitude. Don't like how you're looking at me. Don't like you sitting in this bar like you belong here. So why don't you finish your drink and get the fuck out before me and my friends help you leave? If you're watching this story develop and recognizing that 3 drunk bar fighters are about to make the worst mistake of their drinking careers, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This moment, this casual aggression in a Koreatown bar on a Tuesday night, becomes one of those street legends that gets told and retold, where witnesses spend decades remembering what happened when 3 men who didn't know who Bruce Lee was picked the wrong small man to intimidate. Subscribe to see what happens when street harassment meets capability it can't comprehend, when drunk confidence encounters sober skill, when 11 seconds changes everything. Bruce doesn't respond to the hand on his shoulder verbally. Instead, he does something that most people wouldn't notice, but that Ray feels immediately. Bruce's shoulder structure shifts slightly, just minimal adjustment to his positioning, and suddenly Ray's hand, which was supposed to be controlling Bruce through pressure, has nothing to press against. The force Ray was applying just dissipates, his hand sliding off Bruce's shoulder like it's made of water. It's such a small thing, such a subtle movement, but it communicates something important. This person understands structure and leverage in ways that Ray, despite his size advantage, doesn't. Ray feels it as a challenge, even though Bruce hasn't done anything aggressive, hasn't said anything confrontational. Did you just? Ray starts, his anger increasing because he can't quite articulate what just happened. Did you just push my hand off? I didn't push anything, Bruce responds quietly, his voice still calm but carrying an edge now. I'm asking you politely. I don't want trouble. I'm waiting for a ride. I'll be gone in a few minutes. There's no reason for this to escalate. But Ray is past the point where de-escalation is possible. His ego, his drunk confidence, his need to maintain dominance in front of his friends, all of it requires that he can't back down now. Backing down means admitting that the small Asian guy somehow got the better of him, and that's intolerable. You think you're tough? Ray asks, his voice getting louder, attracting attention from other patrons who are now watching with the morbid interest that bar fights always generate. You think because you know some karate movie shit you can disrespect me? The bartender moves toward the phone, clearly calling the police, but everyone in the bar knows the police won't arrive for 10 or 15 minutes in this neighborhood, that whatever is about to happen will be over long before sirens arrive. Ray makes his move. He reaches to grab Bruce's shirt collar, intending to pull him off the bar stool, to physically dominate him through superior size and strength, to drag him toward the door and throw him out onto the street where his friends can help administer the beating that Ray has now convinced himself is necessary and justified. His hand closes on Bruce's collar. For maybe half a second, Ray thinks he's succeeded. He's got the grab. He's got the control. Now he can pull this small guy around like a rag doll and demonstrate what size and strength can do to someone who doesn't show proper respect. Then several things happen in rapid succession, so fast that most of the witnesses will later disagree about the exact sequence. 1 second. Bruce's hand moves to Ray's grabbing hand, makes contact with Ray's wrist at a specific point. Not grabbing back, not trying to pull Ray's hand away, just precise pressure on a nerve cluster that makes Ray's grip instantly weaken. At the same time, Bruce's body rises from the bar stool, not violently but fluidly, his movement economical and controlled. 2 seconds. Ray's weakened grip releases completely, his hand falling away from Bruce's collar. Bruce's other hand touches Ray's elbow, applies minimal force that redirects Ray's entire arm position, making Ray's balance shift forward in ways he doesn't expect and can't counter. 3 seconds. Ray stumbles forward, off balance, his drunk coordination insufficient to recover from the structural manipulation Bruce applied. He crashes into the bar, not hard enough to cause serious injury, but hard enough to be humiliating, his chest hitting the wooden surface with a thud that makes bottles rattle. 4 seconds. One of Ray's companions, the Latino guy, moves to help, reaching for Bruce from the side, attempting a tackle that would use his momentum and size to overwhelm the smaller man. It's instinctive group behavior, helping your friend when a fight develops, using numbers to ensure victory. His arms wrap around empty air. Bruce has moved, not dramatically but economically, shifting position just enough that the tackle misses completely. The companion's momentum carries him past Bruce and into the bar stool Bruce was sitting on, the stool tipping over, the companion landing on the floor in a tangle of limbs and furniture. 5 seconds. The third man, seeing his two friends already neutralized, hesitates. He's more sober than Ray, has better judgment, can see that what should have been easy, 3 large men overwhelming 1 small man, has already gone completely wrong. But he's committed now, can't back down without looking cowardly, has to at least attempt to help Ray. He swings a wild haymaker, the kind of punch drunk people throw in bars, no technique, just arm strength and hope. The punch telegraphed so obviously that Bruce has literally a full second to see it coming. 6 seconds. Bruce slips the punch with minimal head movement, lets it pass by his face with maybe 2 inches of clearance. As the punch passes, Bruce's hand touches the puncher's extended arm, makes contact with the bicep, applies pressure that makes the arm collapse inward at the elbow joint. 7 seconds. The third man stumbles forward, pulled off balance by his own committed punch getting deflected, and Bruce helps his momentum continue with light push to his shoulder that sends him stumbling into a nearby table, chairs scattering, the table tipping but not falling. 8 seconds. Ray has recovered from hitting the bar, his face red from embarrassment and anger, his drunk brain still convinced that this fight is winnable if he just commits more fully. He turns, sees Bruce standing calmly maybe 6 feet away, sees his 2 friends already neutralized, and makes the decision that alcohol and ego demand. Charge forward, use his size and strength to simply overwhelm this small man through pure physical dominance. 9 seconds. Bruce doesn't retreat, doesn't try to evade the charge. Instead, he moves toward Ray, inside the charge, closer to Ray's body than Ray expected, his positioning making it impossible for Ray to grab effectively or generate power with his arms. 10 seconds. Bruce's hand moves in a short, controlled strike to Ray's solar plexus, the same neurological targeting that worked on the strongman at Venice Beach, that dropped the Muscle Beach champion, that has proven effective against every opponent who thought size made them invincible. The strike isn't delivered with full power. This is a bar, not a demonstration, and Bruce doesn't want to seriously injure someone despite their aggression. But it's delivered with enough force and precision to create the physiological response that makes breathing impossible. 11 seconds. Ray stops moving completely. His eyes go wide. His mouth opens, trying to pull air into a diaphragm that has just been disrupted by precise neurological strike. His massive hands drop to his sides. His legs buckle, and this 230-pound construction worker sinks to his knees on the dirty bar floor, gasping, completely incapacitated. The bar is silent except for the jukebox, which continues playing Creedence through speakers that crackle with age. 20 witnesses watched 11 seconds of 3 men learning that size and numbers don't guarantee victory against someone who understands structure and targeting at levels their street fighting experience never prepared them for. Bruce stands calmly, his breathing normal, his clothes barely disturbed, looking down at 3 men who are in various states of neutralization. Ray on his knees gasping for air, one companion still tangled with the fallen bar stool, one leaning against the tipped table holding his arm where Bruce's pressure point strike affected the nerves. The bartender, Pete, is standing behind the bar with the phone still in his hand, the emergency call half-dialed, his face showing the expression of someone whose entire understanding of how fights work has just been challenged. He's seen hundreds of bar fights, big guys beating small guys, multiple attackers overwhelming single targets, the predictable physics of violence where mass and numbers determine outcomes. What he just watched doesn't fit those patterns. Before I continue with what the witnesses said, with how this 11-second encounter became local legend, and with what Ray and his friends learned about assumptions and consequences, I need to know you're feeling the street reality of this moment. Drop a comment. Tell us what city you're watching from, and whether you've ever seen someone pick the wrong person based purely on appearance. Because what happens next, the aftermath and the lesson that spreads through this neighborhood, That's where the karma completes itself. Bruce walks back to his bar stool, which is still upright, and sits down, picks up his beer, which somehow didn't spill during the confrontation, takes a small sip, waits for the phone to ring. Pete, the bartender, finally finishes his interrupted emergency call. Yeah, there was an incident, but it's resolved. Nobody seriously hurt. Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks. He hangs up, looks at Bruce with an expression that's trying to reconcile what he just saw with what his experience tells him should have happened. He walks over to Bruce, speaks quietly. You okay? I'm fine, Bruce responds calmly. They started it. I defended myself. I didn't hurt anyone seriously. Just encourage them to reconsider their approach. Encourage them, Pete repeats, glancing at Ray, who's still on his knees trying to breathe normally, at the two companions who are slowly getting to their feet, looking shaken and confused. That's one way to put it. Are the police coming? Bruce asks. I canceled the call. Told them it was handled. Pete leans against the bar, his voice lowering further. I've worked here for 15 years, seen more fights than I can count. Never seen anyone handle 3 guys like that. You military? Special forces or something? Martial artist, Bruce responds. Teacher. I train people in Los Angeles. What's your name? Bruce Lee. Pete's face goes through recognition, surprise, and then something close to awe. Bruce Lee? Like the Green Hornet. Bruce Lee? You're that Bruce Lee. Same person, Bruce confirms. Pete looks at Ray and his friends, looks back at Bruce, starts laughing. Not mocking laughter, just the laughter that comes from cosmic irony fully revealed. Oh man, they have no idea. They just tried to intimidate Bruce Lee. That's going to be the story of their lives. The time they picked a fight with Bruce Lee and got handled in 11 seconds. Ray has recovered enough to breathe normally, his body's automatic systems overriding the diaphragm disruption Bruce created. He's still on his knees, but his face is showing something beyond physical discomfort now. Confusion, embarrassment, the dawning awareness that something just happened that he doesn't understand and can't explain to his friends or himself. One of the other patrons, an older black man who's been sitting quietly at a corner table, speaks up. That was Bruce Lee, Ray. You just tried to throw out Bruce Lee. Ray looks up, his face showing someone whose entire worldview is being reconstructed in real time. Bruce Lee? Like karate movie Bruce Lee? Kung Fu, not karate, another patron corrects. And yeah, same guy. He teaches martial arts in L.A. You just challenged probably the best martial artist in California to a bar fight. The information sinks in slowly through Ray's alcohol-impaired consciousness. His expression moves through several emotions: shock, embarrassment, anger at himself, recognition of just how badly this could have ended if Bruce had wanted to actually hurt him instead of just defending himself. His two companions are processing the same information, their faces showing similar emotional progression. They helped Ray attack Bruce Lee. They participated in trying to intimidate and assault someone whose martial arts capability they couldn't have comprehended even if someone had warned them. Pete brings Ray a glass of water, helps him to his feet. Sit down, Ray. Drink this. Sober up. And be grateful that Mr. Lee here is a professional who knows how to defend himself without hurting people seriously. Ray takes the water, drinks it, his hands shaking slightly, not from the physical confrontation, but from the psychological shock of what just happened. He looks at Bruce, his expression carrying all the complexity of someone who needs to apologize but doesn't know how, who knows he was wrong but whose ego still struggles with admitting it publicly. I'm sorry, Ray finally manages, his voice rough and quiet. I was drunk. That's not an excuse, just, I was drunk and stupid, and I'm sorry. Bruce nods acknowledgement. Apology accepted. But you need to understand something. You didn't just pick the wrong person because of who I am specifically. You picked the wrong approach. You assume that because I'm small, I'm weak. You assume that 3 of you meant automatic victory. Those assumptions could get you seriously hurt someday by someone who doesn't have the restraint to defend themselves without causing permanent damage. What would you have done? One of Ray's companions asks, genuine curiosity cutting through the embarrassment. If we'd kept coming, if we hadn't stopped, what would you have done different? Bruce considers whether to answer, decides that honest teaching serves everyone better than polite evasion. I would have increased the force I used on vital targets. The strike that put Ray on his knees, that was maybe 20% of what I can deliver. If I'd used full power, Ray would be unconscious right now, possibly with cracked ribs, possibly with internal injuries. I didn't want that outcome, so I used minimum force necessary to neutralize the threat. But you could have, Ray says, not questioning, just confirming something he already understands from how easily Bruce controlled the situation. I could have, Bruce confirms. But hurting people isn't the goal. Defending myself effectively is the goal. Understanding the difference between those two things is part of what martial arts teaches. The payphone on the wall rings. Bruce stands up, walks to it, answers. Dan Inosanto's voice on the other end confirms he's 5 minutes away. Bruce thanks him, hangs up, returns to the bar to finish his beer. Pete waves off Bruce's attempt to pay for the drink. On the house, for the entertainment, and for handling that situation without turning my bar into a crime scene. Ray and his friends are still sitting there, processing. Their aggressive energy from 20 minutes ago completely dissipated, replaced by something closer to hangdog embarrassment and involuntary respect. The other patrons in the bar are talking amongst themselves, the volume increasing as people discuss what they just witnessed, as the story starts taking shape in ways that will be told and retold in this neighborhood for years. "Can I ask you something?" Ray says as Bruce prepares to leave. "Go ahead." "That thing you did with your hand when I grabbed your collar. What was that? How did you make my grip just disappear?" Bruce walks over to Ray, demonstrates the technique slowly on Ray's arm, showing where he applied pressure, how minimal force at specific nerve points creates involuntary muscle response that weakness grips regardless of the person's strength. It's teaching, the same kind of explanation he gives students, because even drunk aggressors who made terrible decisions can learn from honest instruction. "It's not magic," Bruce explains. "It's anatomy, understanding where nerves run, how pressure on specific points creates specific responses. Your grip was strong. You're a strong guy. But strength doesn't protect nerve clusters, doesn't prevent neurological responses when they're triggered correctly." Ray listens with complete attention, his earlier aggression transformed into genuine curiosity. "Could you teach that? Like, if someone wanted to learn what you do, could they learn it?" "If they're willing to put in the work," Bruce responds. "It takes years of practice to develop the sensitivity to find the right points consistently, the precision to apply pressure correctly. But yes, it can be learned. I teach it at my school." Dan Inosanto's car pulls up outside, headlights visible through the bar's front window. Bruce finishes his beer, sets the empty bottle on the bar, nods to Pete, and walks toward the exit. Just before he reaches the door, Ray calls out, "Mr. Lee?" Bruce turns. "Thank you for not hurting us," Ray says, and the gratitude is genuine, the recognition that this encounter could have ended very differently if Bruce had been less controlled, less professional, less restrained. "And I'm sorry again." "Learn from it," Bruce responds simply. "Stop assuming you know what someone can do based on how they look. Stop using numbers to intimidate people. Stop letting alcohol make you aggressive. Those patterns will get you hurt eventually, by someone who doesn't have the training to defend themselves without causing serious damage." He leaves, gets into Dan's car. Doesn't mention the incident because to Bruce, it's not significant. Just another encounter with people whose assumptions about size and capability created dangerous situations that required correction. But inside the Lantern Bar, the story is already becoming legend. 20 witnesses saw 3 construction workers try to intimidate a small Asian man and get systematically neutralized in 11 seconds. Pete the bartender will tell the story hundreds of times over the next decades, each telling refining the details, emphasizing the speed, the economy, the almost casual way Bruce handled 3 men without appearing to exert effort. Ray and his 2 friends become famous in the neighborhood for all the wrong reasons. They're the guys who tried to fight Bruce Lee and got handled in the 11 seconds. The story follows them. People recognize them from Pete's retellings, from other witnesses' versions, from the legend that grows with each repetition. But something else happens too. Ray stops drinking to the point of aggression, stops picking fights, stops using his size to intimidate people, stops assuming that mass and numbers equal victory. He doesn't become a martial artist. He continues his construction work, continues his life. But he carries the lesson from that November night, uses it to modify behavior that would have eventually gotten him seriously hurt. One of his companions actually does seek out Bruce's school, enrolls in classes, begins the long process of learning that what looked impossibly fast and precise on that bar fight night is actually the result of systematic training that anyone can learn if they're willing to invest the years of practice required. That's the truth about what happened when 3 bar fighters picked the wrong small man in a Koreatown drinking establishment. Nobody told them it was Bruce Lee. They saw a small Asian guy, made assumptions based on appearance and size, escalated from verbal harassment to physical aggression, and learned in 11 seconds that their assumptions were catastrophically wrong. If this story revealed something you needed to understand, about how casual aggression can encounter capability it can't comprehend, about why judging people by appearance creates dangerous blind spots, about how street harassment sometimes meets karma measured in seconds, subscribe so you never miss these deeper truths. And comment below, tell us what city you're watching from, and whether you've ever witnessed someone pick the absolute wrong person to mess with. Pete the bartender keeps the story alive for 37 years, until he retires from the Lantern Bar in 2008. The bar itself closes in 2015, the building torn down to make way for a Korean grocery store, but the legend persists. Older residents of the neighborhood still tell stories about that Tuesday night in November 1971 when Bruce Lee walked into the Lantern, when 3 drunk construction workers made the worst decision of their drinking careers, when 11 seconds taught lessons about assumptions and consequences that witnesses carried for lifetimes. One of those witnesses, a Korean immigrant who was having a quiet beer that night, later told his grandson the story. "I saw maybe 50 bar fights working in that neighborhood," he said. "Big guys fighting big guys, groups against groups, bottles broken, chairs thrown, police called regularly. But that night was different. That night I saw something that made no sense until I learned who the small man was." "What made no sense?" the grandson asked. 3 large men attacked one small man, and the small man didn't fight them. He just adjusted, made tiny movements that turned their size into liability, their numbers into confusion. They attacked with aggression and drunken confidence. He responded with precision and sober understanding. 11 seconds later, they were on the floor and he was sitting back down to finish his beer. That's when I understood that real fighting isn't about who's bigger or who's angrier. It's about who understands what they're doing. The grandson asked the obvious question. "Did you ever tell the 3 men who they attacked?" "Everyone told them," the old man laughed. By the end of the night, they knew. Pete the bartender made sure everyone in that bar knew exactly who they'd tried to intimidate. Their embarrassment was complete and public. But you know what? That embarrassment probably saved them from worse encounters later. They learned to not judge people by appearance, to not use size for intimidation, to not assume drunk confidence beats sober skill. Ray, the construction worker who initiated the confrontation, lives with the story for the rest of his life. When Bruce Lee dies in 1973, Ray is interviewed by a local newspaper doing a story about Lee's connection to the neighborhood. He tells the reporter about the night at the Lantern Bar, about challenging someone he didn't recognize, about learning in 11 seconds what years of street fighting had never taught him. "Bruce Lee could have destroyed me," Ray tells the reporter. "Could have put me in the hospital, could have broken bones, could have caused serious injury. I grabbed him. My friends came at him. We were aggressive and threatening and drunk. He had every right to defend himself with maximum force, but he used exactly enough force to neutralize the threat and no more." That's the part that stuck with me. Not just that he was capable, but that he was controlled. He understood the difference between defending yourself and hurting someone unnecessarily. "Do you regret it?" the reporter asks. "Every day," Ray responds. Not just because of who it was, though finding out you attacked Bruce Lee is definitely something that makes you reconsider your life choices, but because of what it revealed about me. I was the kind of person who used size to intimidate people smaller than me, who let alcohol make me aggressive, who assumed might makes right. That's shameful. That night forced me to confront who I was, and I didn't like what I saw. The reporter asks what changed. I stopped drinking to the point of aggression, stopped using my size to intimidate people, started recognizing that every person I encounter might have capabilities I can't see, might have training I don't understand, might be capable of defending themselves in ways my assumptions don't account for. That lesson could have been taught through me getting seriously hurt. Instead, it was taught through 11 seconds of controlled defense that left me embarrassed but uninjured. I consider that a gift. Nobody told them that was Bruce Lee. 3 bar fighters picked the wrong small man that night, learned in 11 seconds that size doesn't guarantee victory, that numbers don't ensure dominance, that assumptions based on appearance create vulnerabilities that capable people can exploit with devastating efficiency. The confrontation lasted 11 seconds. The lesson lasted lifetimes. The legend became part of neighborhood history, told and retold, refined through repetition until it achieved the status of local mythology. The night Bruce Lee walked into a Koreatown bar, got harassed by drunk construction workers, and demonstrated what happens when street aggression meets capability it cannot comprehend. 11 seconds, 3 men neutralized, 0 serious injuries. One permanent lesson about the difference between looking dangerous and being dangerous, about how assumptions create blind spots, about why you should never judge someone's capability based on their appearance. They didn't know it was Bruce Lee, but after 11 seconds, they knew they'd picked the wrong small man. And that knowledge, that lesson, that public demonstration of what happens when arrogance meets mastery, that became the story they carried forever. The night they learned the hard way that real capability doesn't advertise itself, that the most dangerous people often look the least threatening, that 11 seconds is enough time to completely destroy assumptions that took years to build.